The team has to be trained, they have to be taught, and they have to know what are the standards that you expect, right? It's not a wish list. When I was a chief mate, every time I pulled into port, somebody would come on board from the ship and we would go through what's called a ship shore safety checklist. Say that 10 times fast, I dare you. So, the ship shore safety checklist was designed to help make sure that every time cargo was being transferred, petroleum product was being transferred from shore to ship or ship to shore, that all the checks needed to do that safely were carried out, right? Everybody initialed when they did the check. And I'm telling you, it was a lifesaver. Hey, everybody, we are talking about the second pillar of running a tight ship, which is crew. We've talked about chain of command structure and the three layers that separate a pretty chart with actual operational excellence. Now let's go one step further and talk about the second key discipline, which is the discipline of SOPs, standard operating procedures. We've heard this a lot. This is very common. Everybody who knows standard operating procedures, SOPs. But what are they? Let's talk about that real quick. A standard operating procedure is a process that's repeated for a result. That's basically it. Doesn't matter if it's high level or if it's granular, the process of an SOP is the same. You're taking something that is routine work and you're putting it into a document that says, this is how I do it every time. So I get the same result repeatedly. Now, if you have SOPs that are written down and you've got a nice binder full of SOPs sitting on the shelf and all it's doing is collecting dust, nobody knows what they are, you don't actually have a system. What you have is a paperweight, and you know it. Documentation such as SOPs have to live organically. They have to live with the team. The team has to be trained, they have to be taught, and they have to know what are the standards that you expect, right? It's not a wish list. I'll give you an example of this. When I was a chief mate and I was sailing on oil tankers around the world, every time I pulled into port, didn't matter if it was a load port or discharge port, somebody would come on board from the shore. They'd come on board, their counterpart to me, who was in charge of loading or discharging the vessel, and we would go through what's called a ship shore safety checklist. Say that 10 times fast, I dare you. So, the ship shore safety checklist was designed to help make sure that every time cargo was being transferred, petroleum product was being transferred from shore to ship or ship to shore, that all the checks needed to do that safely were carried out, right? And everybody initialed when they did the check. And I'm telling you, it was a lifesaver so many times. And even doesn't matter. You go through the motions so many times and you're just having something written down that you follow every time in the form of something like a checklist is so important for routine tasks because I mean, you know how easy it is to miss one thing. You miss one thing, it changes the whole outcome. If I missed one single low point drain and we started cargo, guess what? I got diesel everywhere. Didn't matter how many times before I had done it successfully. If I missed it one time, disaster was happening. Didn't matter how much experience or how well we did the last 50 operations. All it took was one small mess up and my career was done. Now, fortunately, it never happened, but it didn't happen because I had a checklist. I had a process. I had a standard operating procedure. And the maritime industry has gone through great lengths to document everything on the ship, everything to almost to the point of exhaustion. I'm here to tell you, but because they have spent so much time developing a system, there is no ambiguity. There is no room for interpretation. There's no room for error, right? Because they can't. If something happens, they need to know. Now, it's not to say that life doesn't happen because life doesn't live on a spreadsheet or a checklist. And I get that. I'm with you 100%. But having processes that are documented help you achieve repeatable results every time. And it doesn't matter who's stepping in that position. That's the beauty of it, is that you are enabling people that would be considered ordinary to help them achieve extraordinary results over and over again. Just think of all the big companies. Think of like a McDonald's, right? Or a Burger King or Best Buy or, fill in the blank. Big company that has a lot of different people working for them at all these type of entry level, all the way to middle management, all the way to senior management. They have their systems that are so well documented and processed. They know exactly how much mustard to put on each burger. They know exactly how many pickles, how many pieces of lettuce, how big the burger is, when to flip the burger. Like everything is totally documented so that when you get that cheeseburger from McDonald's, every time it's near identical to every other McDonald's, no matter where they are on the planet. That is what I'm talking about. It's having a system set up for repeatable excellence. Now, there are 3 tiers to SOPs that I want you to pay attention to. There's tier 1, critical SOPs. So this is where work really matters and where mistakes cost you. In the maritime industry, mistakes can even cost somebody their life. Those are tier 1 critical SOPs that need to be so well designed and crafted that error is almost out of the question, right? For your business, it may not be life-threatening, but it could make the difference between making a sale that's going to help the business achieve its quarterly results, or it could mean delivering on time to get those customer feedback surveys and the feedback scores that you're looking for to hit those results. It doesn't matter. Whatever the critical SOPs for your business are, those are the ones that you want to start with first because they're so important, because excellence is so critical to your operation. They need to be so well defined that the people that you have working for you understand exactly what to do and how to do it. Tier 2 are the repeatable processes, right? So this is those repeatable tasks inside your company that get done over and over and over again. An example would be maybe like marketing, right? So in marketing, you have things like research, hook scripting writing, the thumbnail creation. You have all kinds of different things that go into it, right? Those are called repeatable tasks. And AI is helpful right now because it does a lot of those repeat tasks for you. And knowing when to implement AI is also super important for this going forward. But you want to make sure that you understand and you document your process, your standard operating procedures for the routine tasks. And then you have tier 3, which is just your reference SOPs. So this is work that happens uh, maybe out of the blue. It could be a major failure, right? So on a ship, examples of these would be like abandoned ship or a fire drill or an oil spill or emergency evacuation. These are things that you hope to God never happen, but you need to be prepared for worst case scenario, right? They're unlikely to happen very frequently, but you still need to be ready with a process so that when crisis happens, you're not panicking. You already have a plan like, hey, when this happens, this is what we're going to do. We're going to X, Y, Z. And the reason why that needs to be documented before crisis is it gives you the ability to have a level head when everybody else is losing theirs. Super important, right? So 3 levels. You need critical SOPs. These are critical workflows that need to happen repeatedly, on cadence, and on schedule. Number 2, the tier 2 is just those repeatable tasks that are not super critical, but need to be defined to get that repeatable result. Tier 3 are those one-off scenarios, maybe worst case scenarios in which you need to make sure that your worst case or your downside is prepared for because you have a plan. You have contingency plans in place that you also need to drill to make sure that your team knows how to respond to emergency or critical situations. So if you're wondering where to start with the tier 1s. Get those knocked out. Tier 1s need to get knocked out first, then go to tier 2, and then you get to tier 3. And here's a pro tip that I have for you, right? When you're building SOPs, include the team. Include the team members that are actually doing the work because it may have been a long time since you were the guy turning the wrench, right? Or you get what I'm saying, right? It may have been a long time since you were the guy on the ground climbing in the attic space. It may have been a long time. Use the use your team members and leverage their expertise and their own knowledge so that they're contributing to the SOP process. And here's a few reasons why. It's because one, they understand this, they understand what needs to happen probably better than you do. Number two is when you're gone and you leave, they're the ones going to do it. So they need to know how to do it. And number three is that you get their buy-in. When you co-create processes and procedures with your team, it creates a bonding experience because they get this sense that their say is important, right? And that's important. And I'm not trying to belittle that. I'm trying to enable that. I want to enable that co-creation of best practices that the company gets to benefit as well as the people. So use that use that framework, use that process, include your team in this because it's going to make a huge difference with your final product and with your crew morale. So test your SOPs. When was the last time they were updated? Could a new hire come in tomorrow and start executing with a high degree of proficiency? And and here's another one. If you had a key person leave today, would somebody else on your team be able to step into that position with very little disrupt happening in your operation? Think about those questions. And if the answer is giving you a little bit of anxiety right now, you probably need to spend some time working on your SOPs. So, with that, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the third discipline inside of crew, which is hiring. So, stay tuned, subscribe to the Alex Hayes Fractional COO to keep learning more, and as always, stay on course.